Hello, this is Amy, and today in this video I'm going to demonstrate how I graft two-color syncopated brioche when you're alternating between brioche knits and purls. This is a technique that I use in an upcoming pattern called the moon basking cowl. It is really similar to the existing technique for grafting two-color brioche. However, I am going to be grafting in pattern, which means I'm going to be alternating knits and purls so that these two pieces, when grafted, look continuous. To talk a little bit more about my setup, I'm working with two swatches here. The top swatch begins with a provisional crochet cast-on. This is simulating the starting edge of my brioche piece. The bottom piece is where I have my live stitches, and this is simulating the end of my pattern. So you can imagine if you are grafting a cowl, the two pieces will actually be continuous and you're grafting the two ends together. I'm working with two colors here. I have a light gray, which is serving as my main color, and a dark blue-gray color that is serving as my contrast color. I already have my dark gray or contrast color threaded onto a tapestry needle, and for the first pass I will be grafting the contrast color. In order to maintain the existing pattern, I'm going to be grafting with a pattern of 2 brioche purls, 7 brioche knits, followed by 2 brioche purls. I will not be grafting the edge stitches on this round. Those will come up in the next round. So before I begin, I like to make sure that my contrast color is brought to the front, so the yarn is starting in the front. And this is not grafting the selvage stitch, this is just sort of positioning the yarn into the correct location. I pass my needle through the leftmost selvage stitch on the top piece. And again, that's just to align my yarn into the correct starting location. I'm starting with a brioche purl-oriented graft. Step 1, I will insert my needle knitwise into the first CC stitch on the bottom piece. Step 2, I will pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the corresponding CC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, pass the needle purlwise back into the same CC stitch on the bottom piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next MC stitch on the upper piece. I will repeat that pattern again. So that pattern was for the purl-oriented graft. Step 1, insert the needle knitwise into the next CC stitch on the bottom piece. Step 2, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching CC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle purlwise back into the same CC stitch on the lower piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next MC stitch on the upper piece. That was 2cc purl-oriented grafts. Now you can see that the column that we're working in has transitioned to a brioche knits, so I will also switch over to the knit-oriented graft. For the knit-oriented graft, step 1, insert the needle purlwise into the next CC stitch. Pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching CC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle knitwise back into the same CC stitch on the lower piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next MC stitch on the upper piece. And I will repeat that pattern again. Step 1, insert the needle purlwise into the next CC stitch on the lower piece. Step 2, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching CC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle knitwise back into the same CC stitch on the lower piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next MC stitch on the upper piece. Now I'm going to keep repeating that pattern, the knitwise graft, until I reach this column on the left over here. After that, I will transition to the purlwise graft. I'll probably fast forward through this part in editing, and I'll meet you when we start on the main color. I'm now on the last stitch of the first pass. So I'm doing a brioche purl graft. Inserting the needle knitwise into the next CC stitch. Pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching CC stitch on the upper piece. Insert the needle purlwise back into the same CC stitch on the lower piece. And to finish off this yarn, I will do similarly like I did to the beginning. I will pass the needle from right to left under both legs of that first slip stitch. And this isn't really grafting the slip stitch, it's just to anchor the yarn into the right ending position at the end. We just finished the first pass of the brioche graft, and now I'm going to do the second pass, which is using the main color, which is the lighter color. On the second pass, we'll be grafting the 2 selvage stitches on either side of the pattern, as well as the main color stitches that have not been grafted yet. So that is going to be 2 knit-oriented grafts, 6 purl-oriented grafts, followed by 2 knit-oriented grafts. Starting with the selvage, this technique is the same as a Kitchener stitch, but I will demonstrate it as well. So I begin by inserting my needle purlwise into the first selvage stitch. Pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the selvage stitch on the upper piece. insert the needle knitwise back into that same bottom stitch. And again, for the next selvage stitch, step 1, insert the needle purlwise into the bottom stitch. Pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching stitch on the upper piece. And finally, insert the needle knitwise back into that same stitch on the lower piece. Okay, so now we're going to begin the brioche grafting. In the first column, we're actually not grafting anything yet. We're going to do what I consider step 4 of the repeat, which is to pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the CC column. So this is like the bridge step. One thing I want to talk about is how to know where in the column to bridge over. I think that this will be more clear in the next column because it's not on the edge. So for this column, I will just perform it and I will explain in more detail how I find this V or these legs to pass through when I'm passing through the CC columns. So now we can begin our 4-step repeat. For the knit-oriented graft, we begin with step 1, inserting the needle purlwise into the next MC stitch, being sure to treat both the MC and its yarn over as one stitch, same as you would when knitting brioche. Step 2, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching MC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle knitwise back into the same MC stitch on the lower piece. Again, I'm just trying to be careful that I catch both the stitch and its yarn over. Step 4, we're going to be passing the needle from right to left under both legs of the next CC stitch. So the way that I know which stitch to pass my needle through, it can help to pay close attention to the structure of your brioche. So right now we're working in this CC column, and you can see that every CC stitch in this row has a corresponding MC yarn over with it. Here's one, here's another, here's another, here's another. And the space where we are passing our needle through the legs of the CC stitch is the row where there is not yet a MC yarn over. You can see that below as well. We have a yarn over here, a yarn over here, a yarn over here, and this is the row that is missing its CC yarn over. I will be showing you again how I do that when passing through the knit-oriented columns. Now I'm going to repeat that again. So this is the knit-oriented graft using the main color. Step 1, insert the needle purlwise into the next MC stitch. Pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching MC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle knitwise back into the same MC stitch on the lower piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next CC stitch on the upper piece. Now we're going to use the same strategy that we did in the previous column to pass through. We are currently working in this CC column, and looking at the structure of the brioche, I can see this row already has a yarn over. I also see that this row right here already has a yarn over. It is this row here where the existing CC stitch is missing its MC yarn over that I will pass my needle through. And that is the way that I will continue to look for where to pass my needle over the CC columns. I just demonstrated 2 brioche knit grafts, and now I'm going to transition to the purl graft. Step 1, insert the needle knitwise into the next MC stitch on the lower piece. Step 2, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the matching MC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle purlwise into the same MC stitch on the lower piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next MC stitch on the upper piece. I'll repeat the purl-oriented graft one more time. Step 1, insert the needle knitwise into the next MC stitch on the lower piece. Step 2, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the MC stitch on the upper piece. Step 3, insert the needle purlwise back into the same MC stitch on the lower piece. Step 4, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the next CC stitch on the upper piece. Now I will repeat that pattern for the purl-oriented graft 4 more times, then I will do 2 knit-oriented grafts, and I'll come back and talk through the last 2 selvage stitches. I'm finishing up my last stitch, grafting my last stitch, so this is step 4 of the last MC stitch, passing the needle from right to left under both legs of the bottommost CC stitch. And now I'm going to begin the selvage graft. On the leftmost selvage, I will be grafting the stitches out of order as they appear on the needle. I will be grafting this leftmost one first and then this right one. And that is to maintain continuity in this column. And it's like that just because of the way that the selvage, which is sort of like an I-cord, is knit. So starting with this leftmost stitch, insert the needle purlwise pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the upper stitch, and insert the needle knitwise back into that same stitch. And when I'm grafting the last selvage stitch, I like to turn my work either on the side or upside down because it's easier to see and access the last selvage stitch when it's on the side. So there's a lot going on here, but I'll try to demonstrate as best as I can. This right here is the stitch that we're grafting, and we're grafting it to this upper stitch up here. Step 1, insert the needle purlwise into the bottom stitch. Step 2, pass the needle from right to left under both legs of the upper stitch. Step 3, insert the needle knitwise back into the same bottom stitch. So that completes my 2-pass brioche graft. I'm just going to show you really quickly what it looks like when I remove the needles and the provisional cast on. So the needle cord just slides out like that. I am looking for my crochet tail right here, the one that has the chain 5. And you should just be able to tug on that tail and the chain stitches will unwrap. So here you can see what it looks like. You can see a little bit of a tensioning difference, but that should block out. And this is what it looks like on the front. One tip that I have for keeping consistent tension is really to tug the yarn loosely. The biggest problem that I have is that my tension is too tight on the grafting row. But I think with some, blocking and some light tugging, that seam will disappear. Thanks for watching the video. Please leave a comment and let me know if you tried it out and it worked for you, or you have other comments or questions. I hope you check out my patterns on Ravelry. They'll be linked below if they're available. And yeah, best of luck.